What's up everyone, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech and this is the complete review of Gionee M7 Power. Gionee has launched its new phone M7 Power in India at 17,000 rupees. It will be available on Amazon and in the retail stores. Starting from the first look to its pricing, everything looks aggressive. So let's see how good this phone actually is. On the front, it has the new 2017 look with smaller bezels, so that's a great thing to begin with. On the back, it has a hybrid design with a glass strip covering the 13 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture with a single LED flash. Following that is a plastic panel with a nice micro finish housing the fingerprint scanner with the Gionee's logo at the bottom. Below that is another plastic strip for antennas. At the top it has the IR blaster that you can use to control your TV, AC or anything with a remote. On the left it has a SIM card tray that houses a nano SIM slot and a hybrid SIM slot. So you can use either two SIMs or a SIM and an SD card, but not all three at once. On the right, it has the volume and power buttons made of metal that are very well elevated and have a nice tactile feel to them. At the bottom, it has a 3.5mm audio jack, a microphone hole, a micro USB charging port, and a speaker. On the front, it has a huge 6-inch IPS display with HD Plus resolution covered by a 2.5D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 3. Yes, it has just the HD resolution with an average PPI of 268. For regular usage, I couldn't notice any pixels, but while watching videos, I could notice the lack of sharpness. It is definitely not the best display in the price range, but it is still a pretty good display. Viewing angles are good, sunlight legibility is good, colors look saturated. While watching videos on YouTube, you will still get two black bars on the sides and there is no option to scale the video to fill the screen completely. That's something missing in the software department. Above the display, it has a proximity and ambient sensors, earpiece, and an 8 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture. Below the display, it has just the Gionee's branding. It has on-screen buttons with a slight bit of opening end. At first I was really worried if there was a dead pixel, but it's like their own style. Holding everything is a 6000 series anodized aluminum frame with a nice curve and chamfered edges. Now under the hood it packs a 5000 mAh battery. Now that's huge, and it also makes the phone slightly thicker and heavier. It weighs 193 grams and has a thickness of 8.6 mm. In hand it feels slightly heavy. Design isn't anything new, but it's very well built. It has a very strong presence from the first time you hold it in your hand. Micro texture on the back panel helps a little with the grip, but it still feels a little slippery. It has all the basic sensors including compass, FM radio, fingerprint scanner and IR blaster, but it is missing the gyroscope, so you can't watch VR content or 360-degree videos on it. Because of the HD resolution, VR experience will be pixelated and horrible, so it shouldn't really matter a lot. Fingerprint scanner is fast, but not the fastest I've seen. It takes around a second to actually unlock the phone. Most of the time it's negligible, but if you really notice such stuff, it's very frustrating. Haptic feedback is decent, but it makes this annoying sound. So I turned it off completely. On Gionee A1 Plus, that also comes with a huge display, Gionee went with the stereo speakers. But with this phone, they are back to the regular mono speaker at the bottom, and it sounds decently loud for media consumption. Audio experience on headset is just average, just like the regular phones. Cameras on this phone are not its strongest point. At most, it's average. Every time you take a picture, it freezes the screen for a split second. Dynamic range is bad, sharpness is bad. We can manually increase the exposure, but it doesn't do anything good by itself. On first look, images look decent, but if you zoom in, everything is blurred and very soft. HDR mode takes even longer to capture images, and on this phone, it's called as daylight mode for some bizarre reason. Even in the HDR mode, images are not bright, they look very dull. Just like the OnePlus 5T or the Mi A1, it also has a 2x button to quickly zoom in, but it is not an optical zoom, so you will lose even more details. So rear cameras are just average and definitely nowhere near phones like Mi A1 or the Moto G5 Plus. Now for selfies, it does a decent job. Selfies are wide, so that's a great thing, and like most other phones, it overexposes the background. Dynamic range is once again bad, but selfies come out to be good, at least way better than the rear camera. Color reproduction is good, but once again, if you zoom in, everything is blurred, so sharpness is bad. So for selfies, this phone does a better job than the Redmi Note 4 or the Mi A1. But once again, it can't be compared with phones like Moto G5 Plus, Honor 9i or even the Oppo phones. Now that's not all. This phone also offers a portrait mode for selfies, and these are the sample images. As you can see, the blur effect is all over the place. It is better to not use it at all. For video recording, there is no OIS or EIS, so the footage is very shaky. Despite that, color reproduction is good, dynamic range is bad, sharpness is bad, and there is a lot of exposure shift. If you have very stable hands, you might be able to shoot some good video. The same applies even to the front camera video recording. By the way, we can record video in 1080p using both the front and rear cameras. This phone rocks a Snapdragon 435 processor with Adreno 505 GPU. It's an 8-core processor with 8 Cortex-A53 cores clocked at different frequencies. These are the benchmark scores. By the way, this is the same processor we have seen in Redmi 4, which is priced at 7,000 rupees. So in terms of performance, there isn't much to talk. It comes with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of internal storage, out of which you get about 2.5GB of free RAM and around 50GB of free space for your user data. Because of the HD resolution, gaming experience is good. There wasn't much lag with many of the games I've tested, but visuals were not that great. You will see the lack of resolution, especially while gaming. There are no heating issues even after intensive gaming. Phone's temperature didn't cross 45 degrees. Memory management is okay, and while retrieving apps from memory, it is responsive enough. So if you use very limited number of apps, performance shouldn't be an issue. This phone is running a heavily skinned version of Android called Amigo OS, based on Android 7.1.1 with the September security patch. Gionee doesn't provide frequent updates, but it does provide updates for a long time. Now coming to the UI, it is like a mixture of Android and Apple's iOS. Thankfully, we still have the notification toggles in the notification area, but the entire settings panel is different. Like all the Chinese phones, it still doesn't have app drawer, so all the apps are thrown on the home screen. And there is a ton of bloatware, but we can uninstall most of them. I'll suggest you to uninstall anything you don't know or don't use. It has a lot of features ranging from night mode, the regular split screen mode, themes, smart gestures, and many more. I'll make a separate video on all the features of the phone, so do check that out. Now the most highlighting features are the app clone feature that allows you to use 3 instances of WhatsApp, so you can use 3 WhatsApp accounts on the same phone. You can also use a specific fingerprint to quickly open a specific app, which sounds cool, but not so cool for practical usage. It also has an extreme battery saver mode where it kills all the apps and gives you very basic features like calls and messaging, and drastically increases the standby time. This will come in handy a lot. And finally we have the 3D photo mode, which feels more like a video than an actual 3D object. By the way, we can't export it or share it with others. This phone has a massive battery, and I got around 8 to 10 hours of screen on time for almost 2 days of usage. No matter how intensively I used it, I had at least 30 to 40% of battery life by the end of the day. So for battery life, this phone is awesome. This was a review unit and I didn't get a charger with it. So I used the Xiaomi's latest power bank, and it took me around 3.5 hours to charge the phone completely. Like all the retail phones, this phone has 2 verdicts. If you are a user who doesn't mind buying a phone online, this phone is definitely not worth the price. It has an old underpowered processor, just a HD screen, no dual camera setup, and the cameras aren't all that great. Online we have some excellent alternatives like the Mi A1, Honor 9i, Honor 7X, and if you wait for a month or so, we will even get the Redmi Note 5. Now if you want to buy a phone offline with a full screen display and a massive battery, then this is the best phone you can get. It has an awesome build, decent cameras, massive screen, and a huge battery that no other company is offering at this price offline. So guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to see more cool videos on tech. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.